I'm sat outside in my garden on a beautiful sunny morning, and it all feels rather surreal. Just a couple of days ago, someone living not far from where I am now died of coronavirus. Suddenly, all that I'd been reading about in the news came home to me in a very poignant way. And I'm sure I'm not alone in finding that day by day my levels of anxiety rise and fall. Not only as I read the news, as I hear the stories of what's happening in our communities, but also as I think about the way different people are being affected by this, not only in terms of health, but in terms of businesses and livelihoods. Just yesterday I heard that already numbers of reported incidents of domestic violence have risen significantly. What are we to do in the face of all of this? How are we to respond? And particularly when we feel powerless, what does that do to us as individuals and as communities? I want to suggest to you that there are two temptations which I think we do need to avoid. The one is simply to hunker down and to shut out the world, to pretend this isn't happening and to focus only on ourselves and our immediate families. That's completely understandable, but I'm not convinced that will do our own mental well-being any good in the long run, nor indeed our society. And the other temptation is, of course, to get busy, to replace all the things we were doing with new things, and to keep ourselves so busy that we don't have to think about what's going on. Again, I don't think that's helpful in the long run, for all that it's an understandable reaction. But we do need time to reflect and to think deeply about our own response as well as that of others. I found myself reflecting yesterday on some writing by Deitrich Bonhoffer, the German Christian martyr killed during the Second World War for his stand against Hitler. And Bonhoffer, in his work on ethics, says that the starting point is not to ask ourselves, what does it mean for me to be good? Or how do I do good in the world? Or indeed, what is a good society? But the starting point, he says, for the Christian is to ask, what is God's will for me and for society? In other words, I start not by thinking about myself or indeed society, but thinking about God. It's that sense that at our baptism, our identity changed. We are now Christians, and our starting point is to think about Christ and about God. So I want to suggest that the only way we can do that then is to use this time much more for prayer and for study of the Scriptures. That's how we discern what God's will is. So even at this time, as our church buildings are closed and we can't gather for prayer in the same way, nevertheless, I hope that within our homes, there might be opportunities to explore new ways of praying. There's lots of online resources now. We have stuff on our diocesan website. Many churches are producing resources, both online and paper, that's being posted through people's letterboxes. I hope that you might be able to explore new ways of praying. And similarly, in terms of studying the Bible, we can still gather virtually over the internet for those that are able to use the internet. And that means that actually we can still carry on exploring what it means to discern God's will for us now in this new situation. So the archbishops have talked about church changing, and that's very true. But the foundations, of course, remain the same. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We were created for a relationship with God. And therefore, my sincere hope is that our starting point as we think about all that's going on will be to ask ourselves again, where is God in all of this? And what is God's will for me as an individual, for us as communities, and for our society? I go on praying for all the churches of our diocese, all our ministers, and indeed for all the communities that we are seeking to serve at this time. Thank you for all that you continue to do.